Good evening, everyone. So good to see some folks virtually. I'm Bethany Spindler, principal here. For those of you who are current 8th grade families, hopefully I'm a familiar face. And for those of you who might be at other schools in our district, considering Big Picture for our high school, welcome to our Big Picture High School Information Night. I'd like to share that Matt Stokes, our amazing assistant principal, is joining us this evening. He's going to help monitor the chat and participate in part of the presentation. Clinton Stelfox, high school science teacher, lead advisor extraordinaire, is joining us. There's Clinton, and Tony Granito, our internship coordinator, and longtime 10-year veteran Big Picture faculty member, is with us as well. If I missed any other Big Picture staff, please turn on your camera and let me know. And then I do see several of our high school students who have joined us. They're going to be part of sharing their perspective around their experience here as high school students, many of whom have been here since 6th grade and have transitioned all the way through our high school program. This is definitely going to be a presentation with a lot of information. We want to provide as many specifics to help in your selection of high school for the fall. It'll be here before we know it. The meeting is going to be recorded and posted on our website and sent out to our current Big Picture family. So if you need to head out before we're done, but rejoin or watch later when you're able to, please know that that will be available. Toward probably about 3/4 of the way through, we're going to open up to interactive Q&A after our internship presentation by Tony during that section, which is where most questions tend to be about our program. We'll take a pause and have Q&A with our staff and our students who are here to answer as many questions as we can. Please feel free to drop questions in the chat as well. And then Matt, Tony, and myself, and any of our current high school students who feel that you can answer a question via chat, and we'll do that and try to have it be as fluid and timely as we can in between when we're presenting and when we're supporting our other presenters. So hopefully that's how we're going to get started. We're just going to kick it off and get on with the show tonight. We're going to focus a little bit on understanding what student success has looked like here at our school. This is the 11th year of Big Picture, so we have 10 years of data about the work that we've been doing here in Bellevue and how it pertains to preparing students to be successful in college, career, and life. We'll give a little bit of an overview of Big Picture, which our current families are familiar with, but those of you who may be new to learning about Big Picture will provide a little more context on that. As I mentioned, we'll share some student and staff perspectives about their experience here at Big Picture. We'll dive into what we offer for our academic and our extracurricular program. We'll spend a considerable amount of time talking about the really unique aspects of our high school program with advisory and internships. And then we'll close out with how we transition here internally our 8th grade students to being 9th graders here at our school. So student success, what does that look like? Our mission is to prepare all of our students to be successful in college and career and citizenship or life through making the program personalized, rigorous, and relevant to the needs and lives of our students. We have implemented several core features of our program that are different from the other comprehensive high schools here in their district. Primarily our internship program, project-based learning, high school exhibitions of learning, student-led conferences, and student, staff, and parent-created learning plans. We know that our graduates are able to head out into the world and use in-depth content knowledge to make connections across subject areas. Things aren't in silos here at our school. They're able to see across math and science and humanities and arts and health and well-being lines. Our students are able to set goals and monitor progress and reflect on their learning, to communicate effectively with very diverse audiences using multiple modes of presentation and communication techniques. Our students collaborate with diverse teams, whether that's in their projects or real-world settings in their internships. They're innovators. They're able to analyze and use in-depth critical thinking skills. They're able to design and to create and to solve problems and take action about causes that are important to them, either here locally in our community, at our school, or more nationally and globally. Our graduates are able to direct their own learning, and really you see evidence of that when they're pursuing their internships and their freedom projects and the choices they have within our classrooms for their class-based projects. We encourage our students to really build on their strengths, to capitalize on the unique qualities that they have in order to continue to explore their passions and inform the direction they want to take once they graduate from us. It's really important for our students to learn to recognize perspectives, others' perspectives, and their own perspectives, and what biases they may bring into conversations they're having, into the work environment or into community in which they live. Our students are able to analyze cultural influences, connections, and contexts. We spend a lot of time really trying to provide an equitable and inclusive classroom community here at our school and prepare students to take that with them when they leave us. Building empathy within our students to empathize with others, we believe is an important attribute of graduates to prepare them for life. We want our students to leave and to continue to explore the world with curiosity in big or small ways, and ultimately to know challenges are in the life ahead. They certainly have been in the last 2 years. Our students have been incredibly resilient and have persisted through a lot of intense things thrown their way. So being able to recognize those strategies they use to persist to prepare them for future challenges ahead of them. So those attributes of big picture graduates, we believe, really are a result of the unique things that we do here, from the internships to the project-based learning to student-led conferences. Our students have been incredibly successful with graduating and applying to college. More than 90% of our graduates do enroll in college, whether that's 2-year, a tech school, 4-year, private, public, local here in the state of Washington, on the East Coast, or other places around the country. A few examples of the colleges that the students have actually attended are on this slide. You'll see the logos of those schools from our classes of 2018 to 2021. I'm really proud to have someone at my alma mater of Cornell University. Last year was our first Cornell applicant and acceptant. So Sam is there in Ithaca right now as we speak. So I'm always a little proud. I'm proud of all of our kids, but it's great to have someone back on the East Coast at my school. Specifically for the class of 21, so last year's graduates, even in the pandemic and the disrupted learning that they had, our students were really successful in getting accepted to a variety of colleges of their choosing, and then ultimately being able to attend, for most of them, the top school on their list. So our kids are continuing to go out and get connected to really great universities. Again, all across the country, some large, some small, some more technical and trades-based, some more liberal arts, etc. What's also important, aside from some of the data of graduation rates and college acceptance, is to hear how our students do once they leave us and what that college experience is like. And I'm continually getting emails and having conversations with our graduates. They really do want to stay in touch with the community here at school. Many years, we just recently heard from a member of the class of 2018 who is graduating this spring in 22 and received a full acceptance paid for his master's program in physics education. And he and his professor attributed so much of his success the last 4 years at his university with his experience at Big Picture. and his mom reached out to share that with us. So that's always great for us to stay connected and hear that. Here's two particular quotes that I like to share because they really talk about the differences that students experience and what's important to them when they transition to college. So the first student shared with me a few years ago, his freshman year when he arrived at his school. I hope everything is going well. He's at the University of Idaho, is having a blast. To be honest, my experience at Big Picture has definitely helped prepare me for everything. For example, since we've had to do many collaborative activities at Big Picture, when I went through the rush process for Greek life, it's a little more on the social-oriented side, I was easily able to talk to new people and make new friends, which ultimately led to me being picked by the house I wanted. Also in my studio art class, we've had group projects that we've had to present our work. My entire group didn't know how to do that and was uncomfortable with that, but Big Picture prepared me for that, and I was able to deliver all the explanations that I needed to. And then another student who was a little more academic focus said that she learned with all of her AP and college and the high school credits, she was classified as a sophomore at Hofstra. This was really exciting for me because all those credits came from classes at Big Picture. She wasn't a Running Start student or any other summer courses. She just did her 7 classes here each of the 4 years of high school, and will be graduating from Hofstra and has done exceedingly well there and been able to take many more advanced courses because she was already a year ahead when she enrolled there. We pulled some data on the class of 21. So last year's graduating class in regards to the level of rigor and the college credits they had when they graduated from us. So on average, across the class of 21 graduates, they had 3 AP classes on average. The college credit from AP is based on their exam score and how the university they attend will award the credit. And that will vary across universities and across the score that kids got. But on average, our students had taken and completed 3 AP classes. On average, they had also earned 11.3 college credits via Running Start. So there were 12 students from the senior class that were engaged in Running Start across their 11th grade and 12th grade year. And in total, those students had earned 340 college credits. Other students, on average, had 20.5 college credits from taking college and the high school classes here. So they get 5 credits of UW credit, actually, for our Physics of the Universe class. They can get 5 credits for our high school photography class, 5 credits for senior English. They actually get 10 college credits for pre-calculus. So on average, our students were graduating with 20.5 college credits just from the coursework they had here. What really sets us apart from the other schools in the district are these pre-professional hours that our students receive through their internship. So the class of 21 was a little bit lower than most classes for us because of the pandemic and a shift during that first half year of remote learning where we closed our internship program temporarily. We relaunched last fall with a virtual internship program, so students were able to still participate and earn more hours. But it's typically well over 600 hours that our students have in a variety of occupations. So that might be engineering or architecture, fine arts, teaching, medicine, you name it. Our kids have experienced a lot of really cool opportunities before they head into college to really inform careers they might want to pursue. And all of our seniors have at least one college credit granting course their senior year. So we're maintaining that rigor right up through senior year for them. I love to tell the story about Kai, who graduated a few years ago. I saw him just a couple months ago, right around graduation time for us here at high school. He was up in the area. Kai came to us in high school. He wasn't here for our middle school program. He just joined us in 9th grade when he came, and really blossomed in, just brought out all the amazing qualities that were already in Kai. But I don't think he realized it. School was not his thing early on. He wasn't typically, or very easily focused in some classes. But through his internship experiences and through a lot of the compelling projects that he was asked to do throughout high school, he got to a place where he quoted that he found a community where he could be at home and found himself and who he was. And who Kai was is a social justice advocate and a filmmaker and a storyteller. His senior project was producing a documentary about the Japanese internment here locally, which was screened with several audiences. He also won an Emmy, which is the picture there that I have for some of his work with animation. And he's been doing film and social justice at Portland and has recently graduated and had done some study abroad in Prague and is now working in the film industry and doing really well. But it was really about the self-discovery of who you are as a human being and what you believe in and what's important to you. So he was able to find his voice through his schooling experience here in Big Picture and could articulate that so clearly his senior year. And Kai's not just the only example of that. Many of our students, after their time here, are really able to understand themselves and what they want to have for their future, which I think is really important for our kids to be life ready. So a quick overview of Big Picture for those of you who may be new to our school. It is an international network, actually, of schools. There's more than 100 of us around the world. We were the second one here in Washington State, and now I think there's close to a dozen. So it's great to have many Big Picture counterparts here locally in Washington and in the Pacific Northwest. They have an incredibly high graduation rate across the network. The majority of students from Big Picture schools do enroll in college and then graduate from college in a timely way. The schools are incredibly successful with very diverse populations of students. They're racially, ethnically, culturally, socioeconomically diverse schools, which we certainly are as well. They've been consistently named as one of the top 100 innovations in education in the last few years. So Big Picture is really on a progressive edge of education reform across the world now, not just here in the country. As an organization, we've been around for about 25 years. Here in Bellevue, the specific school is on year 11. And we're really thrilled. We wanted to have a big 10-year celebration, but COVID kind of got in the way with that. So hopefully we'll be able to do that in the near future. A core feature of the model of Big Picture, excuse me, is really to put students at the center of their learning, having them work closely with their peers and a variety of other adults in a partnership to guide and support the students. So whether that be an internship mentor, our parents who we see as really strong partners, the teachers who work as advisors, we're all together in a close community to support our students as they direct their learning here. We provide a lot of different leadership opportunities, and those have taken many different forms over the years here at Big Picture. I've listed just a few. We really believe it's important to develop those leadership skills in students so they can go out and lead in their communities, in their workplaces, in their family structures in ways that are meaningful to them. We've had students that have been leaders with our staff, so they've been part of delivering staff professional development right alongside our instructional leadership team. We've had them lead, sorry, every time I admit someone, my slide advances. They've worked on school culture leadership with our restorative practice team. We've had students that have led with district staff. They've worked with the safety and security department on safety exercises across the district. They've worked with the district's equity department on providing and producing materials for equity and inclusion across the district. Students have led with students here at school. So whether that's ASB events and leading school community building and PMUs, or if they've been peer mediators to facilitate mediations involving racial and other forms of discrimination. And they've been leaders within the community. And we had a group of students who started their own nonprofit to support art funding here in the district. And we've had students who interned with the sustainability ambassadors to support sustainability in the district and the local community. So leadership takes many forms here. We want to encourage and support students in the direction in which they want to develop those skills, but there's several opportunities for our kids to be leaders. And all of that is really how we focus on building student agency. for students to really affect change and have confidence in their lives, that they can lead with purpose and have self-efficacy. They can set goals, they can take action on those goals, they can reflect and revise that, and ultimately internalize what that process was. So whether that's through the internships or the student-created learning plans, the Freedom Project students have the last month or so of each high school year, or how agency plays out within their class projects, within their courses here. It's not only the course content that's important for our students to learn, but it's this sense that they can go out and they can lead and make change, and really have confidence in what they want to do in their future. So what sets us apart? We are a small school. Those of you in 8th grade recognize that right now here at Big Picture with the size. So we always hover right around 400 students. Students have learning plans where they set their vision, their goals, and create action plans around that. We have an advisory that focuses on student interest and community building and college and career exploration. There's a pretty seamless transition from 8th grade to 9th grade here, being a 6th to 12th grade school. And all of our students lead conferences with their parents and their teachers twice per year here. The internship program, as I've mentioned, really is about students getting connected to that adult world already. And we bring the adult world in as much as we can. It's a little different now during the pandemic, but whether it's guest speakers, virtual or in person, or field trips, we want students to experience the world outside of school. We believe in supportive partnerships and partnering with our business communities for mentoring our students as interns or coming in as speakers or project partners. Our parents are partners in the work that we do here, and our Big Picture Learning Network of schools around the world are our partners. We are the only project-based school fully here in the district. We have a different approach to assessment and grading. It's called standards-based assessment, which our current middle school students are very familiar with. That continues on through high school. We do focus on 21st century skills like collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, and communication. Our high school students all engage in exhibitions to share their learning with a broader audience. We're highly collaborative and really committed to our racial equity work. And lastly, we believe in this notion of shared leadership and responsibility. It's all of us working together to support our students excelling and being successful graduates. So there's a lot of student-driven clubs and pick-me-up assemblies. Our staff as leaders and our parents are really active here at our school. So for the high school specific components, the curriculum will be similar to the middle school curriculum in the project-based approach, which we'll share some examples of a little bit later. It's connected to real-world tasks as much as possible. We have had challenge days, freedom project days, and learning plan. The instruction is the project-based with guest speakers. There's a lot of student voice and choice in that. And our assessment is standards-based, and that could be presentations, it could be papers, it could be products that students are created, it could be exhibitions, or senior defense for our seniors. Advisory, they'll have the student-led conferences and the exhibitions total 4 times per year, and all of our high school students will have an internship every single year. And then there's a variety of extracurricular activities, which we're going to get more detail in just a few minutes. So now, you don't really want to listen to me. It's all of our amazing high school students, and I'm not entirely sure who's going to kick this off. Colette, you're the one I've been working with mostly, so I can advance slides if you all want to turn on your camera and take over for the next few minutes with sharing your perspective and the things that are most important to you about high school. Hi, Colette.
Hello.
So nice to see you.
Hello.
Awesome. You want me to go to the next slide?
Yes, please.
Perfect. Okay, just let me know.
Yeah. So I'm Colette. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a current senior at Big Picture, and I've been at Big Picture since 6th grade. So I have really experienced like that full Big Picture experience that Bethany was just talking about. So to kick things off for the high school side, I will be talking about internships and how important they are to the Big Picture high school curriculum. So one of the big things that you gain during internships is this professional workplace experience, unparalleled communication building, explorative opportunities, and your career interests. And besides those wonderful things that you gain, it looks great on resumes and stands out on college applications. And in that internship, there's a crafted project that highlights what you want to gain from your internship. As you can see, we have interns that go to all sorts of different careers. We have students that do teaching internships with the Bellevue School District. There's Microsoft interns and Google interns this year. We have had multiple that do City of Bellevue and do different kind of engineering work for the City of Bellevue. And then we also have, this is a new internship this year, it's at the Bellevue Urban Garden, and we have a student that is learning all about gardening and sustainable ways to farm food. I personally have had a really great internship experience. I've had a bunch that's kind of ranged from different topics. I have done creative video projects, photography, teaching, and right now I'm doing the big picture marketing internship. And me and another group of students who have worked on this PowerPoint are kind of figuring out ways to better market out the school to make it, to get it on other people's radars so that people will start coming to big picture for middle school and high school.
Awesome. Want me to go to the next slide?
Please.
Awesome.
These are some pictures from internships in the past where they have been in person before COVID. So we have a Foundry 10 exhibition on the right side of the screen, and then we also have on the left side of the screen and in the middle some teaching internship photos at an elementary school. And then, of course, with COVID, there are virtual internships. So COVID impacted the way we could do internships in a traditional sense. You couldn't go to real workspaces, but you did get new skill sets that you wouldn't get from an in-person internship, such as you get to get experience with virtual communication like Teams meetings or Zoom meetings, and you have to come up with more creative ways to get in contact with your mentors, group members, if that's applicable to your project, and getting that communication set up between your mentors and your advisors. And then there's virtual group projects, which is a whole nother thing. I'm sure 8th graders, you know how it was like to do projects virtually last year, and it was a whole thing, and that tied into our virtual internships. So we have some pictures on the right side of the screen of students this year doing some virtual internships, because not all of us are doing in person yet because of different workplaces and their COVID rules right now. But I still think that we've managed to have a really good internship, good successful internships despite being virtual. There's still a lot you gain. You can go ahead and change the slide.
Hello all, my name is Noah Bloom. I am also a senior. I've been here since the beginning of middle school, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Freedom Project and SLCs. So Freedom Projects are sort of something that are, I feel like they're really under represented, but they're a super cool opportunity that Big Picture offers. Their essence is at the end of every year, for the last 2 months, students will be able to design projects and execute on those projects of their own interests and passions. So here are a pantheon of examples of freedom projects that we've seen in the past. The one to the top left of the screen is a little snippet from a cookbook that was made by a student who is in my grade, a senior. They made it in their junior year as a something to take with them to college, so that when they're separated from their parents, they'll be able to have healthy things to eat. There is a on the bottom left a picture of some more technical freedom projects. This was done by the same student, and they did a project with Arduino. And this is sort of them learning how to use breadboards and things like that to do little, turn on lights and dabble with code. So there's really a very broad range of things that you can do. It's very student driven and it's student designed. So students really get to create their learning opportunities and explore their own interests, which is super valuable because you can sort of feel out what you may be interested in as a career in the future, studying in college, or you could find out what you want to do as a hobby. It's just a super awesome experience. This opportunity I've not seen anywhere else. It is incredibly unique. It's also super cool in that you have people around you who are sharing the same interests and doing similar projects. So you can ask people for help if they have done similar projects in the past. And everyone sort of is united as a community with all these projects. And then they get to show them off and talk about what they learned, what they could do better, and what they found to be super cool about those projects. Something that is also an important part is that students draw from a pantheon of resources to create these projects. Usually you draw from a piece of literature, a piece of media, and then a resource of your choice. And you use these resources to sort of propel your learning as you adventure through this Freedom Project experience. So at the bottom of the screen there is a sort of graphic design example of a project that I did. This was something that I did during online learning, and it was meant to be sort of dabbling with art for video games. And so this was a cover of just sort of a snippet of a book in a video game that I designed and created, and I pulled from my media source different examples of these books to sort of compare and contrast and see what was done well, what was done poorly, and sort of reflect on that and then use that to see where I could improve and where I, think I really excelled. Other things that you can see here on the left, or sorry, on the right, is a soundboard that was designed by Dominic. He is a senior as well, and another senior who did guitar in his freshman year, I believe, it might have been sophomore. So he learned to play guitar, and Dominic sort of built a soundboard that he could use, that he worked to pair sounds to, so that he could, on a dime, click those and play those sounds, to sort of learn more about mechanical operations and stuff like that. And then the guitar was really just a passion project. And so these are super cool opportunities. You get to do 4 of them once each year towards the end. And they're super, super cool because you draw from things that you learn and draw from new things that you get to choose, and sort of compile all of those into a project that really demonstrates you as a person and your interests and your learning. And it's just a super cool opportunity that I don't think you could find anywhere else. You can go ahead to the next slide. So SLCs. SLCs, a lot of you may know in middle school, are student-led conferences. In their essence, they are the students designing a presentation about what they have learned and their experiences in school, and presenting their academic success to their parents. In middle school, it's very formal. Usually the student dresses up. The advisor and the parents both listen in on their presentation, and a lot of the conversation is focused on grades. So how well are you doing? Where can you improve? Reflect on how well you've done or where you have failed to succeed and how you can improve in the future. But in high school, those SLCs are really sort of expanded. In high school, in addition to talking about grades, those are sort of put a little more into the peripheral, not completely out of sight, but you really talk a lot about your internship and your vision. Your vision is sort of a very broad goal. So here at Big Picture, we believe in SMART goals. So you set goals that are really sort of layered in their approach, that are specific, measurable, attainable, and I'm blanking on the E part of the acronym. Colette, do you remember?
Smart.
Time bound.
Yeah, time bound. Yeah.
Time bound. I see. Okay. Oh, measure. Yeah. Apologies. So using these sort of structured goals, you create sort of a vision statement, which is really talking about where you see yourself at a beyond high school sort of clairvoyance future site. So you really talk about where you see yourself in the future and how you're going to get there. So you break down that vision into separate goals that are sort of near sorry, I'm blanking on the word. Goals that are in the near future and goals that are sort of further down the road. And then you break those into actions that are sort of things that you can do right now. So what we really teach students to do with SLCs is not only to communicate with their advisors and their parents and really talk about themselves and their successes, but also their where they can improve. We take that reflection aspect and we also add on to that an aspect of looking further down the road. I can say that from SLCs, I have gained invaluable sight sort of further into my future than I think I would have if I was at other schools. I have friends who go to other schools, and when I talk to them about their college plans, I have found that they don't have nearly as structured or a really focused vision for what they're doing after high school as big picture students. Pretty much every big picture student knows almost exactly what they're going to do after high school. There are students who know exactly what colleges they're applying to in pre-junior year / junior year. There are students who are know exactly what they're going to do aside from college. There are students who are planning on building up credit and going into real estate. They know exactly their plan. It is a super valuable thing because it allows you to really sort of step back and say, I am in high school right now, but what am I going to do after this? And I think that that is something that a lot of students at other schools really fail to see. And so this is a super valuable piece of the curriculum, is it really focuses on having students understand that in the future, they need to plan for that. And that planning for that isn't so much stressful as it is exciting because you're able to see sort of opportunities and you're able to take past opportunities, reflect on those, and then pull that to the future and know what you want to do then. So yeah, it's super cool. A lot of the sorry.
Sorry. Ah! Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, Noah.
No, it's fine. I was just going to really quickly add on that a lot of the things, sort of the goals, are very broken up into what you want to see for like your internships, your social experiences, what you want to see in your academics. So we break down these goals into both academic but also extracurricular and extra academic. So outside of school and inside of school, you're able to reflect on sort of yourself holistically, which is really cool because it pulls things from outside of school into school and really lets you reflect on yourself holistically. So yeah, that's all I was gonna say. You can go ahead to the next slide.
I think I'm there. Oh no.
So for senior defenses, Colette and I are sort of gonna split this one up. Because senior defenses are a super cool part, and we really wanted to talk about sort of each of our excitements and how we're individually excited for senior defenses. So why are we excited for senior defenses? Because senior defenses are really the icing on the cake for this holistic approach that Big Picture has to learning and learning about yourself and planning for your future. Senior defenses are essentially the sort of end SLC, where you present to your advisors, your parents, and students who care to sit in on your senior defenses. And you essentially give an argument for what you learned in high school. What was sort of the what you took out of high school, and how are you going to take that and run with that in the future? And how will this experience benefit you? So students reflect on all 4 years of high school, and they reflect on everything. I'm talking about internships. They reflect on their experiences, how those have helped them grow, both professionally, academically, and in their self sort of, they talk about their club experiences, extracurriculars as well. They talk about sort of how those have helped them grow. They talk about their exhibitions and their SLCs, how they believe that communication between their parents and their advisor has really helped them. They reflect on they reflect on their reflection as well. They reflect, I'm saying reflect a lot, apologies, but they really talk about, how high school in its entirety has helped them grow. And I think that that is a very important thing to look to because a lot of students at other schools may not see the value in high school in its entirety. But there's really a lot that you can take out of high school outside of academics. You grow a lot in these 4 years, and so it's really valuable to look on that. They also pull evidence from all 4 years of their high school. So a lot of senior defenses, you'll see students pulling papers that they wrote in freshman year and comparing them to papers that they wrote in sophomore year, then junior year and senior year, and looking at how their sort of writing style has developed and grown. And looking at that, they can really sort of be proud of what they've learned in high school, and really, see the fruits of their labor as they, have progressed through high school. And with that, I'll let Colette take it away.
Yeah, like Noah said, there is a lot that is covered in a senior defense, and it might seem a little intimidating. I know when I was a freshman, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to present all of that to parents, advisors, all of my classmates. I was a little overwhelmed, but once you learn more about it and you see other students present their senior defenses, it takes a lot of the worry or anxiety away from it. Last year, I remember attending a senior that graduated last year. Her name was Maria Sati, and she had an amazing senior defense. Something that she told me afterwards is that the way she thought of it, it was like a story throughout her high school career, and the end of the story was like where she was going in the future, and that story can continue to be written by her, which I thought was like a really good way to kind of phrase it. And something that I'm excited for, excited is a strong word, but something that I'm looking forward to for my senior defense is reflecting on those areas of growth. Because I know that I have changed personally a lot since 9th grade. There was COVID, obviously, which impacted my learning, and junior year especially. And then who I am now is way different than who I was in 9th grade. And it is just something that I have been looking forward to since probably sophomore year is the senior defense, because I know there's going to be a lot to reflect on, and I take reflection pretty seriously. So it's just something that I'm looking forward to, and I think it is something that is a key part in the Big Picture program, especially for those high schoolers. I don't know if Noah would like to share what he's looking forward to for his senior defense.
I guess I'll add a couple words. I am really looking forward to reflecting on myself extracurricularly. Sort of outside of school, both in and out, I have really grown from being sort of a very shy kid into a very sort of outgoing kid. And a lot of people who you talk to might say the opposite, because I can be a little loud at times. But when I came here in middle school, I had transferred from a private school, and I knew almost nobody, and it was really scary for me. But both in middle school and high school, I really found a community here that felt comforting and really accepting. And I've been able to grow into a super cool person because of it. And so this senior defense is really something that I am super excited about, because I'm able to reflect on the 4 years of high school that I have considered, probably, 4 of the most formative years of my life. It's going to be a super cool experience. And I can't wait to look back on sort of some of the things that I made in freshman year and laugh to myself about, comparing it to now and then, how, stark the difference will be. So I think that is really something I'm looking forward to, is, seeing the growth, being able to compare those two things. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
I want to compare the little Noah that I met in 6th grade, 6.5 years ago, to the super tall, articulate. Now, you were a little loud in middle school. I wouldn't say you were never quiet, but there has been a tremendous change for both of you and Colette. It's just been wonderful to watch you guys grow up and head out into the world to do amazing things. Is anybody else from your team presenting, or just here for Q&A when we get to that part? I don't want to cut off anybody. But
they're here for the Q&A part.
Okay. Perfect. Awesome. Well, now I got just a short clip from a couple other students from last year that I'm going to show with their perspective. And then Clinton is going to share his perspective about being a teacher here. Clinton, you're up.
All right, it's me. I'm
Those
Clinton.
students are a tough act to follow, Clinton. I don't know.
Well, it's cool that Colette, one of them, Colette, is in my advisory, and I agree. I'm also looking forward to her senior defense because her growth is mind-blowing. So yes, I'm Glenn Stelfox. This is my 8th year teaching a big picture high school science. So there's a science class we have. I've taught it. Now it's just chemistry and physics. I'm also the lead high school advisor. That's really the best part about being a big picture as a teacher advisor is that getting to know the kids and them as people, treating them as people, not just a kid you see for an hour a day or whatever. Like we actually do get to know these kids. Like the student-led conferences at the high school level are, I would say, eye-opening from a teacher perspective and from a family perspective, hopefully. Just like the kid being authentic to themselves and sharing all the learnings that they are going through, both in and out of school. And like the senior defenses really are like the cherry on the top of this whole thing, because every senior defense, there are emotions that come out, and it's the highlight, one of the highlights of my year every year, because you get the opportunity as an advisor to reflect on thinking about Colette as a 9th grader almost 4 years ago, and like think to who she is now. Those aren't the same person, yet they are the same person. So give the senior defenses give us as advisors a chance to reflect on the student's journey as the student's taking us through their journey. And really, I think it all boils down to that our school is, I mean, it seems corny, but our school is more than a school. It really feels like a little family. We only have 150-ish kids in the high school. Like, we as teachers get to know all of them, like by name. It's pretty easy. I mean, I shouldn't say easy. It takes a couple weeks, but like we get to know every kid's name, and I don't think there are many schools out there who get that opportunity. Like, and that is like, I'm going to assume for the students that is a giant plus for them, because they are more likely to feel seen and heard because someone knows their name who they may not be their teacher right now. So, yeah. What else are we going to say?
Well, you're coming up later too. So
okay, I'll come back later.
I think that was great. Thank you, Clinton. Yep. There's several videos for those of you who are new to Big Picture posted on our website of voices from graduates and other experiences at the school. I encourage you, if you have time, to go and watch some of those videos. We're not going to share them all this evening. Just want to make sure people are aware there's a lot of good stuff on our website that we've curated during the last 10 years. So typically our high school guidance counselor, Melinda Breeze, is here for this portion of the program, but she's not feeling well this evening, so she's not joining us. But I'm going to just briefly go over the graduation requirement. So we are aligned to the Bellevue School District graduation requirements. So there's 24 credits required to graduate in our district, and they're broken down: 4 years of English, 3.5 years of social studies, 3 years of math, so on and so forth. So our program provides opportunities for students to take all of those required classes. There's a minimum of a 2.0 GPA required to graduate in our district, and 40 hours of community service. Those are minimums. Most of our students far, exceed that during their time. They're also required to complete a high school and beyond plan, which is done within our Naviance system. It's the same system that students have been using here since 6th grade to do a lot of college and career interest inventories. It's where they'll upload their transcript and complete a lot of their college application process when they get to be seniors. And they are required to meet standard on the state graduation pathways in English, language arts, and math, and that can either be through the SBA test for those in 10th grade and beyond, some AP testing, some SAT scores. There's a variety of pathways that our students now have access to in the state to meet that option if it's not through the SBA. There's some college prep requirements that are a little bit different than the graduation requirements. So we work with students each spring when they're registering for their classes to review what is their plan post-secondary, and are they really going to be eligible for that plan. So for example, most universities require students to have a quantitative math class their senior year. Even though they're only required to have 3 credits of math to graduate, some think they can finish math their junior year and then not take math their senior year, but depending on what their plan is for post-graduation, they may need math So most students do end up taking 4 years of math just to have all those doors open for them. The same goes for having science their senior year. And then there's a world language requirement that will vary depending on university as well, of having 2 or 3 years of a language, which can be met through competency-based pathways and proficiency test, or with taking the class with us, or other languages offered elsewhere. Specific to BP, our students are required to have 4 years of an internship, so 1 full internship experience and credit each year of high school, and to complete that senior project via the senior defense that's been mentioned already. As we look at how we prepare students around the testing requirements, and a lot of those have shifted. A lot of universities are now not requiring the SAT or the ACT exam, though we still provide opportunities for students to be prepared for those and to take them. So in 9th grade, they're really just working on their college or their credits that they would need to graduate. And if they are taking an AP test, if it's our AP Human Geography year, most of our sophomores or freshmen who take that course will take the AP test in the spring. In 10th grade, we recommend students attend the BSD District College Fair that's held each February to get information on a variety of colleges in the college app process, and to attend that again their 11th grade year to get more information. Spring of 10th grade, that's what they'll take for that first time for a graduation pathway, the SBA testing in ELA and math. It's similar to what they will take in 8th grade, but this is just the graduation requirement, 1 in 10th grade. And they can take it again if they need to in 11th grade and then 12th grade. In 11th grade in the fall, they'll take the PSAT. We call it Super Wednesday. We shut down classes for a half day across the district, and students will engage in taking a variety of assessments or working in college apps, depending on the grade level. So we do offer the PSAT at no charge here on site in the fall of the junior year. And then many will begin taking the SAT or the ACT the spring of their junior year, and they'll take the state required science exam, which is called the WCAS, and more AP test if they are in AP classes. The fall, they're back to SAT, ACT time, if that's required for the universities they're applying to. They'll be working on their college applications. They'll submit their FAFSA for financial aid assistance for college. And then by May 1st of their senior year, they will commit to whatever college or university that they are applying to. So Melinda, again, as the high school guidance counselor, each year delivers different grade levels of guidance. So she just did the 9th grade guidance earlier this week. There's 10th grade lessons, 11th grade lessons, and 12th grade lessons. So she's continually working with grade levels of students about what they need that year and what they need coming up, so they can work together on creating their 4-year plan and make sure they have the right courses, they're prepared for their assessments, and ultimately for the college application piece, or whatever choice they're going to make once they graduate. In terms of our schedule, it's a little bit different than the middle school schedule. For those of you who are big picture students here in middle school currently, our high school schedule is a little different. So we have 7 periods on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. 6 of those periods are 58 minutes long. Those are your math, science, English, social studies, and elective classes. And then your advisory class is roughly half an hour. And that's just time to check in with your advisor, maybe do some community building, check in on your internship and whatnot. On Wednesday, we do half of our classes on one Wednesday, we call the A Wednesday, and the other half of the classes on the B Wednesday. They're a little bit longer, they're 75 minutes in length, and there's a longer third period, which is advisory, where you have more time, whether it's a PMU or extended time around internship planning. You're dismissed at 1 o'clock, though you're welcome to stay for lunch until 1:30. It's early release on Wednesday. And then Thursday, there are no high school classes. Students who have internships go directly to their internships. Students who are on campus still searching for an internship will be here all day working with us, or engaged in our internship prep class getting ready for that. And Tony will show more details on that coming up in a few minutes. But the schedule is very different from a typical high school schedule or from the middle school schedule here at our school. Insofar as the academic program that we offer, our 9th and 10th grade students are in a 2-year loop for their humanities classes. So one version, so this year, for example, all the 9th and 10th grade students are taking AP Human Geography, and they're engaged in one version of our English course, reading a set of novels and doing a set of projects aligned to that course. Next year, all the 9th and 10th grade students would be in a different version of English with different books and different projects, and then they would be in world history. So that's a 2-year loop that we rotate, but it really helps our 9th graders get connected to 10th graders by being in those 2 classes together, and to help support students as they transition to high school. Our 9th graders will take biology, our 10th graders chemistry, our juniors physics of the universe with Clinton, which is a college and a high school class through the University of Washington, but taught here by Clinton. And then 12th grade, they'll take AP Environmental Science. Math will vary. Our students come at different math levels. The typical pathway across the district is geometry in 9th grade, algebra 2, pre-calc, and then AP Calc or AP Stats. We have students that start pre-calc in 9th grade, and then when we have students that start algebra 1 in 9th grade. So there are courses below geometry. Algebra 1 is the first course in the high school math sequence that some students are in here. And then many students who can accelerate at different access points with math based on what class they're in 8th grade. They'll have internship all 4 years. They get a CTE, a Career Tech credit for that, so you'll see that on their schedule. That is advisory, so it's advisory and internship rolled together. Students can take Spanish here, or different electives, PE or art, or guitar. Sometimes we've offered a leadership class. If they're a special education student, they may have a special education class as well that takes place of one of their electives. AP Stats and AP Calc are offered depending on student signups. So if more students register for AP Stats, we offer that 1 year. If more students prefer AP Calculus, we offer that. So it's really based on what the students are registering for. So some of those electives that I mentioned, again, it depends on what students register for. We don't offer all of these on any 1 year. We put it out to students to determine their interest, and then we staff accordingly. But we've offered digital media courses, photography, video production, drawing and painting, art and design, ceramics, AP photography, so it's a college credit course. Theater, we just started this year in high school. There were several students that wanted a high school theater arts class, so we offered that class. We've done dance in the past. Walking for Fitness, which is a PE class. We've pitched concert choir every year and never been able to get enough students interested in that. We have a guitar class this year, composing music with technology class we're running. We have done advanced and developing leadership class. And I mentioned there's special education classes that are aligned to students' IEPs that are available as well. And now I'm going to turn it over to Matthew to talk about our extracurricular programs.
Thank you, Bethany. My name's Matt, for those who don't know me, for those who are here with us as Big Picture students. Good to see you this evening. I get to transition us a little bit from some of those more technical pieces to some of the adaptive experiences students have both after school, and then I'll pass it off to Clinton to talk about some of the kind of excitement that happens within those classes that Bethany just mentioned. But the first thing I'm going to briefly talk about is if a student wants to participate in a high school sport. Our high school students do not have a WIAA sport here attached to Big Picture, but you are encouraged and supported and allowed to participate in athletics at your attendance area high school. So if your attendance pathway were to take you to Newport, you would participate in Newport athletics, maybe play football for former Big Picture teacher Drew Oliver. And that's true for all the attendance zone high schools. So our choice secondary schools, both Big Picture International, do not have high school athletics attached to them. Let's go next slide. What we do offer a great deal of is our extracurricular programs or clubs. These clubs take place at really kind of 2 times during the day. They'll often occur at lunch or after school. These are student driven or kind of co-created experiences between a student and an advisor. And so it really requires an excited student and some peers willing to join along, a quick ASB approval process, a teacher or advisor willing to support that space in place, and a club is created. That may be a club that's part of a larger organization, such as Green Team or SOAR, Students Organized Against Racism, or GSA, or it may be something unique to what students here want to participate in at this time and place. So we have things like our PMU club supporting our pick-me-up assemblies. We have art club. We have a newly formed music club, anime club, and those all originate from student interests supported by adults here in the community. Let's go next slide. So beyond our kind of after school experiences that are student driven, we have school events and activities that are maybe more adult driven, that are supported and created kind of by adults, oftentimes with students. And these are a range of experiences. Sometimes those live within the school day, like spirit days. Sometimes those are after school, like dances or drama performances. Includes things like day of service, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Student recognition breakfasts, or in our COVID times, donut giveaways on the way out to your vehicle. We've had talent shows and multicultural evenings, math competitions. These are all experiences that we really think, as Mr. Bloom identified, as being a really important part of kind of the growing up student experience. There's a lot of things that young people go through that, as one of Bethany's slides mentioned, that we have to do as high school students. We have curriculum and credits that were required as high school students to move through. And then there are a lot of experiences that we get to choose to be a part of, that we have agency in creating, not only in our classes, as I'll pass off to Clinton in a little bit, but outside of that. What does it look like to pass between classes? What does lunch look like? What can after school experiences look like that really feed the soul and create experiences, memories, opportunities, anchored with the people that you share a great deal of time with. So let's move on. I think next is our senior retreat. As Colette mentioned, been a part of Big Picture for the arc of 6th through 12th grade. And so when you've completed, whether it's 7 years or 4 years together as a group, through the internship process, through the advisory program, speaking together in projects, there's a lot of ways to talk about what community looks and feels like, and there is kind of a closing of what this kind of community experience looks like for students together in one time and place. So we certainly want to honor what that means and what that feels like for students by giving them a place to reflect and reminisce and just share time together before the incredible experience of graduating high school. So it's one of the experiences that ties into our kind of freshman retreat, which enters all students into the experience. So when we transition, whether from 8th to 9th here at Big Picture, and you kind of move from one side of campus to the other, or you're coming to us from outside of the district, or you're coming to us from a middle school down the road, we want to make sure that everybody has an incredibly warm, exciting, creative, sometimes loud, maybe sometimes competitive experience, but altogether just loving and warm, and hopefully a passionate welcome from your advisors, who's going to be in your advisory, as our high school advisory is built slightly different from our middle school advisory, in that once you enter our high school advisory program, you will have students across grade levels. And so our seniors get a chance to welcome our freshmen into those advisory spaces. It's important for us, and as a former mentor, it's just a real privilege to get to say thank you to all the adults in the community, now both virtually and in person, who give their time and their talent, oftentimes their office spaces, to making sure that all of our high school students have a chance to leave to learn, as Bethany mentioned, to become and figure out and develop a vision for what your life looks like. So we're lucky to get to partner with incredibly skilled, dedicated community members to build a holistic high school experience. So certainly a fun way for our students to say thank you to those folks they spend all day Thursday with. So quickly, our Pick Me Up assemblies is our next slide, which if you had happened to be around the high school campus this week, it would have had loud music and our advisory flag competition. The Panther made its way out into the public from our closet, and it's just a space where we get to come together as an advisory, as a school, once a week, to whether it's to play, whether it's to compete, whether it's to learn, whether it's to honor. So those are spaces we fill with our Veterans Day or Martin Luther King assemblies, but there are also places where we may invite members of the community. It may be a place where we compete. It's oftentimes loud, sometimes it's somber, but it really helps us kind of bridge what it means to transition between 7 classes, to stop. We're having a human experience through all of this, and what can we do to share some time and place together. The next thing I get to talk about is Field Day. You know, it's, as we are all experiencing, and I've heard more times this year than ever, that once the sun starts setting early, we start spending more time indoors. And so once we kind of break into the spring, as we kind of get through that, those weeks of that are exciting between April, May, and June, to get out and play and to move, kind of honor the seasonal change of what it means to transition from winter into spring, and just be outside and enjoy that time and place together. Our Day of Service does something similar. A lot of science and research defending just the real joy and intrinsic benefit of giving back to others, and just that important community space of knowing that we're here together. We have the capacity to serve. Sometimes we receive acts of service, but when we can show up together and make something a better version of itself, it's a real honor and a real joy to watch students experience that ability to give back, and to care for, whether it's the earth or others that are here in Bellevue and King County. And to capture the kind of more classic student experience is the junior-senior prom. So we are excited once again, hopefully in the near future, to have the opportunity to gather in space, in place again. It is certainly an incredibly fun event each year, to dress in a different way than we dress every day, to dance, and to be honored by the adults who are just so proud of all that juniors and seniors have done. That celebration kind of carries over into our senior recognition. There's, you know, a real acute ask of being an intern in high school, and to write emails to people you've never met, and to go to buildings and offices that you've never been to. And so there's a lot that our students deserve to be celebrated for. And so the senior recognition event is not shy of 2 things, which are typically the tears of advisors who are just so emotional about the process of saying goodbye to students that they've shared so much time with, but a long list of accomplishments that young people demonstrate between their freshman and senior year. I think I'm getting close here to transitioning over to Clinton. And when we think about kind of that transition from Bethany's kind of technical components of a school to some of that more adaptive space and place that happens outside of school, within those classes that are required for graduation, there are so many moving, dynamic, student-centered experiences that emerge. And so Clinton gets to take us through some of the more detailed elements of project-based learning as somebody who is creating initiating and guiding students through PBL every minute of every day. But I get to send this off with some of the elements that are kind of specific to it at a macro level, which is that all of our projects are aligned to these Common Core state standards. Our hope every single time is that our questions are authentic and really allow for student exploration that doesn't finish with a single kind of concrete answer, but lasting components to think about. The theme that will continue to drive on is this idea of community, and so students working together to design and create solutions to problems. That's really motivated again by that need and that urge and that excitement that curiosity leads us to. As students kind of drive these creations, teachers are there to guide and build the setting and the stage. So Clinton, as somebody who was taught PBL today and will teach PBL tomorrow, I get to, do you want, I'll transition now. Is that an appropriate time for you, Clinton?
Go for it. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, you can hear my dog barking in the background. Apparently there's a kid walking by, so yay. We have different projects from across different subject areas. Like this is one from the past on the screen there that is from English, where students read Catcher in the Rye. They had to identify, we'll call it the mental health of the main character, Holden Caulfield, and then they had to pitch their diagnosis of Holden Caulfield to actual psychologists about like what they thought was going on in Holden's head. You know, it seems pretty authentic. They have to read a book about a kid's teenage journey and then defend their analysis of how the kid's thinking about things to psychologists. And next slide, the fingerprints, right? There we go. Also in English, students generate these, it's kind of like an English art combo, where students generate like it's a story or like we'll call it like revealing information about themselves that they've created a fingerprint because it's telling their story, who they are, and they post it on the wall. So it takes some levels of courage to show that off to the public, and so it's really cool to see these. Like if you actually like read these things about a kid, like you read stuff that you're like, I had no idea that was going on for you, or that was something that was important to you. So it's cool from a teacher perspective, and then like get to see it like behind the scenes of a kid, and also it's cool, I hope, from a student perspective where you're getting up the courage to reveal some stuff to the general public. Next one's biology, I think. Yeah, back in the day when I taught biology, we did a project about there are fish in the Puget Sound that are essentially feminizing, as in their gender is changing because of the different hormones in the water, and students had to like explore what was going on with that, and make recommendations for what we should do to avoid that from happening, because it's like was kind of destroying that species, the English sole. I know now in biology they're working on developing an infographic that would be at like a trailhead, like a hiking trail, about wearing sunscreen, because Washington State has, I did not look this up, but I was told Washington State has the highest rates of skin cancer in the entire country. And so if more people wear sunscreen when they're out hiking, we should be able to lower that. Again, that feels really real world and like benefiting the area around us. Next slide. These ones are mine. In chemistry, we I think the biggest project in chemistry that comes up every senior defense is the escape room. Students design, build, market, sell, perform a chemistry-themed escape room. And actually, there end up being around 8 groups who do this. And we have an escape room night, which is going to come back this year, like in, I think, late January, early February, where like guests come to the school, you got to choose which escape room to go to. You pay a small fee. It ends up being a fundraiser for the prom, and you get to go into a puzzle room where you got to solve a bunch of puzzles and all on one theme, and it's awesome chaos that the kids love afterwards. And then AP Environmental Sciences. I know Noah. I don't know. Are you in AP Environmental Sciences too? I think you are. Both of you are. Yeah. I know they were working on some soil tests today, and like analyzing soil and like what's going on with soil, so they can what's the word? Know what to grow in that soil. And then the bottom right corner is my physics class, Physics of the Universe. We're the only school in our district where that class is taught. It is a physics course with an astronomy theme, which is why you can sign up for the 5 credits of University of Washington Astronomy 101 credit. Today we launched water bottle rockets, and students are going to do a video analysis of those water bottle rockets off the launch pad to figure out their acceleration, like the rocket's acceleration as it travel up into the air. And then they're going to use all that information to help them calculate how long it's going to take to get to an exoplanet, and a planet that orbits another star. So they get to choose a star, they get to choose how they're going to power their rocket in space. Lots of fun math. So yeah, that's the brief rundown of that. And there's art. Art's the next one. So we got different art classes on campus. The ones that over the years that I've been, I mean, they're all great. But as a science teacher, the ones that have popped off the page at me have been the video, like little mini movies that they make. The one on this slide is bringing up a lot of memories is the second one from the left, the firefighter one. It was like the sound of that video was, I can still hear that, like it was just the firefighter breathing, and yeah, it stuck with me. Firefighter PSA. But all of our art classes are great. We develop great projects. You see them all around our campus. You won't see the video ones around campus, but you can watch those. There's some on YouTube. So yeah, good stuff. What's the next slide? Freedom Project. So like the last couple weeks of the school year, or like it's like mid-May. So some of the classes focus their content on students' voice, choice, and interests, where students get to actually choose a thing that they want to explore. It could be anything, but they have to develop a plan for how to explore it. They have to get it approved by their teacher. They have to actually develop a product of some sort, and they have to document their learning throughout with some nice reflection at the end. So, you know, we've had things like building a computer. I remember this a couple of years ago, someone made they researched a woman by the name of Hedy Lamarr, who was a scientist almost 100 years ago, who was like essentially developed how the technology for Wi-Fi, but in like the 1940s. So our student like researched who Hedy Lamarr was and explored like what she made, and actually made a model of what Hedy Lamarr made originally. So there's a lot of really cool student-driven interest, or student interest-driven things that happen with the Freedom Project. It kind of becomes a thing where the teachers become truly the support person, and the students develops their whole plan and explores their interests. It's pretty great. And I think I turn it back to Beth Clinton.
Yeah, I can jump real
Okay.
quick, Clinton, and then before I give it back to you for some LTI pieces, is what does student support look like within its specific programmatic elements? In that we know as we move students through these 7 class periods that individualized support is an important part of the process for a lot of students. So one of the ways we've advanced ELL support, so students who are either emerging or requiring English language learning support is provided both in classrooms and by district specialists. We also have special education programs. We have co-taught English and Algebra 1, targeted math, incorporate a Read 180 program, strategies for success, and the internship also is supported through these transition goals as well. There's tutorial in high school 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, similar to our middle school experience here after school. We have volunteer classroom tutors and mentors. Clinton and I, both as big picture teachers, have shared an incredible volunteer that we are so fortunate to have helped individual students and the construction of curriculum. Well, student conferences twice per year, these SLCs, as the acronym has come to know. Peer mediation is supported in consultation and support by our Guidance Counseling Center and newly MHAT program. And we have a social and emotional learning curriculum that lives within our advisory program to help young people develop not only some of the academic components, but the more social components of what does it mean to feel and to be present with others. And then our student study groups emerge both now kind of virtually online as well as in person as well. So both Bethany and myself, along with graduation success coaches and PBIS specialists, our advisors, our front office staff are working hard to support students every single day. So Clinton, I think I get to pass it back to you for our advisory and LTI program.
Thanks for letting me get a drink of water. So high school advisory, like the students are with their advisor, assuming they stay for all 4 years of high school, they're with their advisor, the same advisor for all 4 years. You know, from 9th grade to 12th grade. So we have mixed grade level advisories. And advisory meets, I think it's 25 minutes, 3 days a week, and then an hour on Wednesday, and then all day Thursday essentially is advisory, except it's internship, the internship component of advisory. As far as how the structure, the flow of the week goes, Mondays and Fridays we try to focus on like the team building or like community building type activities. Tuesdays this year we're doing our PMUs, our pick-me-ups, our assemblies. And then Wednesdays are our hour-long classes where we're doing our goal setting for Thursdays, because they have to like set their internship goals for the Thursday. And then we also do some random fun things, like I think last week we did the flag thing and the flag waving in the courtyard and a whole bunch of other fun, energetic activities. So yeah, there are no workshops at the high school level. It's like just high school advisory. The main focuses are your internship, your learning plan, which is the thing, is the vision, goals and actions. And then I said internship already. I think I said internship already. My dog just came inside, so now there's a lot of noises in my bed or downstairs. So as far as like focus areas with the advisory scope and sequence, it's the same general focus for all four years. And you can see on the screen there, these are all things that are like implemented throughout all 4 years. We do service projects, PMUs, like the pick-me-up assemblies. Some of them are student-led, some of them are adult-led. A lot of college and career readiness stuff happens in advisory, and thanks to Tony, who you'll hear from shortly, that has been much more implemented this year than we've done in the past. Throughout the entire process of advisory, we are implementing social emotional learning things, acknowledging students. Like in my advisory, I think we can call it a seance we have on Fridays, where we acknowledge one student with a candle with all the lights off and say some nice things about that student, and they get blow out the candle and then promptly wipe down with all the alcohol wipes. So, you know, we're acknowledging students in different ways in our different advisories. And the goal setting, like students, their learning plans that they develop, their vision, goals, and actions around both in and out of school areas. This is like the stuff that is the true big picture thing, like all the big pictures in the big picture network. The learning plan is like our connecting point, where this is the student's guide for their experience at the high school level. And it's also a thing that comes up in the senior defenses pretty often, as in like always. So all this stuff, like our job as advisors is supporting the kids through all these actions and watching them grow or helping them grow. Yeah. Boom. Hey, Tony, I think it's your turn.
Fantastic. Hello, everybody. Good evening. I don't know if I'm going to be able to say much of this better than Colette and Noah and Marcus and Elliot, who were the students you saw earlier, said this, or some of the things that Bethany said. But I will try to hit all of the points that they didn't hit so that we don't repeat some of those other things. I will say up front that the internship program is probably it is the best part of our school. The growth and enjoyment that we see when the kids are in internships. One of the other teachers said earlier this year that there's such a difference between seeing a student in a class and doing their work, and then once they get into an internship and they're working with an adult in a profession who is doing something that they're interested in, the students just change completely. It's like almost two different people. And so there's a few pictures here of some of our students, which we've seen, in addition to the ones that we've seen earlier. These are all students in front of or working at their internships. And we've got many more stories like that. I'll try to answer some of the questions about some of the more technical questions about internships, like what they are and how they work, and some of the questions that I saw in the chat earlier. So we'll start with what internships are. Internships are experiences that kids have on Thursdays with, like I said, experts in fields that they're interested in, and the students get to go to those places or work virtually with the mentors. Now that we have both virtual internships and in-person internships, the work that they do is not only aligned with their interests, but it is aligned with the place that they're working. The mentors that we have are great because they get to, they're excited to work with students and share their knowledge and expertise in the areas that they have. A couple of numbers up front. We weren't quite sure what was going to happen going into this school year, coming back full time and offering virtual internships this year also. But we are about a month away from the end of the first semester, and right now about 90 to 95% of our students are either in-person internships or in virtual internships. And so what we try to do in the internships is they are real world learning experiences. So they're authentic and relevant, and they're connected to the students' interests. The internship process and program is it's not an easy program. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's a huge learning experience. And so rigor, the rigor that we have in our classrooms is matched and sometimes exceeded in the internship program because it is a real life endeavor with the students. Some of the things that we hope and that we've seen come out of the internship program are all of the soft skills that all of us learn in situations like communication and collaboration and creativity. We try to bring the learning from the classrooms out into the internships and vice versa, right? Learning from the internships hopefully make their way back into the classrooms. Like I mentioned earlier, probably one of the most important things is the relationship that students have with the adult mentor that they're working with on Thursdays, because it's not a teacher, it's not their parent, it's somebody who they have sought out and somebody who has accepted them and is excited to work with them. And they're talking about things together on Thursdays and learning from each other with interests that they have in common. Yeah, so the technical part of internships, we start at the beginning of each school year talking with students about their interests, setting goals for the year, finding out what students are interested in, and that determines what path we go down for finding internships. We work on resumes. That's an extension of what some of the things that they do in middle school, cover letters. We have a 9th grade orientation class. So every 9th grader, and this year it was 9th graders and 10th graders because we weren't in the school building last year at the beginning of the year, where we try to teach and learn and practice and model all of those skills that students need to both find an internship, network, develop their interests, learn all of the rules, learn all the laws that they have to know about internships, and then all of the pathways to finding those internships. Like several people have said earlier, internships are on Thursdays, but we work on them throughout advisory class on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then at the end of the internship, there's a project, or during the internship, there's a project that students work on that contributes to the place that they're interning at, and then that makes their way into the exhibitions at the end of semesters for students. These, along with some of the pictures on the next couple slides, are just some of the places that our students have had internships over not only the past couple years, but going back quite a few years. And this list continues to grow every year because one of the pathways that students have to finding internships is networking and working with their family members, or just researching the internet and finding places to reach out to and find a place that will work with them as an intern. So this list continues to grow. One of the things that I will mention at this point is that we are also try to work hard to bring in, we also want you as parents and as family members to be a part of that community and bringing new opportunities in for students and their internships. So many of those companies that you just saw in the last few slides have come from family members and members of our community that have given our kids those opportunities. My partner, for example, was an internship mentor twice before she started working for herself. She's a designer. I asked her if she was interested in mentoring a student, and she said that would be great. And then she hosted 2 of our students in internships. So my point is that we're all in this together, and we all kind of try to bring in opportunities for the students, along with teaching the students how to find those opportunities on their own. One of the questions earlier in the chat was about students being chosen for the internships, and I mentioned that there are several paths towards internships. The paths that I've already mentioned so far, we teach students how to do the researching and networking and communication to find internships on their own. Another route to internships is networking and finding or resources within our family or within our school that will give students leads on internships. We do have several partners that we work with that present opportunities to us, like Foundry 10 and Microsoft. Those internships open up every semester or so, and there's a process for students to express their interest and meet with the mentors who are involved with those things, and then we have a certain amount of students who will make it into those internships. And if that fills up, the students who didn't have that internship that time can always get into it the next time around. the some of the projects that students have done during their internships. We've had students who have created movies. The slide that you're looking at now is a group of students who created their own nonprofit, bringing art and charity together. So bringing those things together and then using the money for good things. They were recognized by the International Big Picture Network, and were invited to South by Southwest, the educational conference in Austin, Texas, for their accomplishments on that project in their internship. And I believe that website is still up and running. I'm not quite sure who's running it, but because all of those students are graduated and off doing lots of good things. So a couple of slides back, I mentioned that all ninth graders go through an orientation class, and these are some of the skills that we talk about and build in that class. Many of the things are technical, but some of them, many of them are also soft skills and social skills and networking skills. The idea is to not just hand students an internship, but to teach them the skills to find and research and land internships on their own. But at the same time, we are always there to support them through the process. And like all of us, sometimes there is struggle in finding some of the internships. So we have resources, and we have conversations, and we have opportunities, and we provide that support for students if they're having trouble finding internships also. So part of the process is, and I'll mention a part that's not on this slide also. Part of the process is, after the researching and networking and communicating, we have the students do informational interviews with the potential mentors. This gives the students a chance to ask a lot of questions, and it gives the mentor to ask a lot of questions, especially if they're not familiar with our program. And then after that happens, there are some students who will do shadow days, which means they go out to the site to spend a little bit of time with the mentor. We have cut back on this year due to COVID and restricted. We want to keep everybody safe. But we have done a couple, and that gives students another step into, and the mentor another step into learning and feeling out if the internship or the match is going to be a good one. Once that all happens, there is a lot of paperwork that we need to do. There needs to be a worksite learning agreement between the student and the mentor, and you as parents sign that so that you know what's going on throughout the whole thing. We do background checks on all of our mentors, whether they are virtual or in person. Another safety measure for keeping our students safe when they're going out into the world. Mentors who don't pass background checks are not in our program, so that's one thing that you can feel safe about. The other thing that we do for keeping our students safe is when they do have internships that are not on our campus or virtual, not on our campus and virtual, I go out to all of the sites that our students are at and do safety checks to make sure that, number one, all of the laws that the state of Washington has for keeping students safe in workplaces are observed, and that all of the places have all of their safety measures in place, and to answer questions for the mentors, because there's always a lot of questions about them bringing students, teenagers to their workplace. So those are some of the steps along the way. Okay. While at internships, students will work both with their advisor and their mentor to develop goals and plan for learning at their internship. While they're there, they will learn as much as they can from the mentors, and they will they will try to develop a project, like I think I mentioned earlier, that both enhances their learning and adds to the place where they're interning. There are lots of other things that happen during that. There's reflections and there's goal setting each week in our system. There are learning plans, and then there are monthly evaluations that our mentors fill out that both measure the goals that the students set and the some of the worksite learning skills like reading and math and things that contribute to the skills of whatever is going on in that workplace. Our advisors do a lot of things in this process. Number one is they coach the students through a lot of this process. From the very beginning, and the things that I mentioned earlier in coaching them through the process of networking and communication and finding internships. And this is a lot of conversation and a lot of effort that our advisors are really good at in helping students find their interest and then helping them get into places where they're going to be able to explore those interests. Advisors also guide students through the internship process once they're in the internship process, as far as developing their project and communicating with the mentor and making sure all of the evaluations are going well and that the students are learning and progressing throughout their internships. You as a parent or guardian in the process, we like you to be a part of the process in the internship also. Not only do you have to sign all of the paperwork, but we also would like you to review all of the students' work that they have done as far as resumes and emails and interview preparation. I've already mentioned that networking through your networks as parents is one of the avenues that we have for getting new mentors and internships. And then throughout that process, it's also talking to your child about their project and then coming in at the end for the exhibitions and seeing what their presentation of the learning through the whole internship experience. When our mentors, I think I mentioned a lot of this earlier, our mentors, the adults that your child is working with, there's a lot of communication that happens between the interns and the mentors and the advisors. They are the primary person who is at the work site, teaching and developing relationship with the students who are there to help them progress in their learning. There's a lot of feedback that they do. I mentioned the evaluations that happen every month or so. There's also feedback that happens in our electronic system where the students will set goals at the beginning of the day and the mentors will provide feedback at the end of the day. Right. There's a couple of us who are on the team, myself included. We also have Barb, who is who works in making connections and finding opportunities in our community. That's another avenue that we have for the students. And then we have Hillary, who is also on this call, I believe, who is doing a lot of the work connecting with parents and brainstorming with us this year about supporting students through their internships and getting them into internships. And I think the last thing that I mentioned is, well, I mentioned the two last things. Students work on projects throughout their internship, and then they exhibit that learning in their classes, in front of their classmates, and in front of you, and in front of their mentors at the end of each semester. So this project works its way into the exhibitions that happen in all of our classes at the end of each semester. And I think that was all the technical information that I was going to mention.
You did marvelously, Tony, for your first time as an
well,
LTI coordinator.
Yeah, well, I think second time since I did it last. Did I do it early in the year? Yeah. But is this the time where we were going to have questions, or was this?
Yeah. We're mostly done. We know it's been a lot of information. We just want to provide families and students as much as possible since we're not in person and live. But our students some of them are still here. Our current high school students. So if there's any questions, feel free to turn on your mic or your camera if it's something that we can answer in the chat about anything that we've talked about. Again, we know internships tend to have the most questions of like, how does that really work and what do they do? So far away, maybe you can moderate the chat. Or Clinton.
Yeah, so there's a first question already in the chat. Can you do internships out of state or travel related?
Yeah, so if you're interested in doing an internship with somebody out of state, that would be a virtual internship. You would do that on campus, and we would set you up with a mentor, and then you would meet with them on campus. You would meet them on Teams or on Zoom once or twice or a few times throughout the day on Thursdays, and then that mentor would give you work to do in between the times that you were meeting with them. Yeah, we have at least 2 students this year who are working with a mentor who is working out of Portland. So, and I know that in the past we've had students who've worked with companies who are, I think, in Southern California at some point. Yep. So yes, out-of-state internships is possible, but it would be a virtual internship because you couldn't travel that far on a Thursday and then get back for school on Friday.
Other questions, if there's 8th graders online, any questions that you have for our students, anything you want to ask them about specifically with their experience or about classes, now is the time. If you have anything. Such a quiet group tonight. Hillary, as a parent, even though you work for us now, but when you were sitting in this seat 4 years ago as an 8th grade parent, what do you think was most important for you to know as a parent?
Well, I was lucky enough to see some of those students come in for principal coffees and some various events that we had. So it was just amazing to see the high schoolers, how much growth they have from the time they leave middle school at our school or come in 9th grade, but just the growth that they have over those 4 years. And I would say if any of the high school students want to share any of their particular internship experiences or running start experiences with some of the classes that they've taken, that might be helpful because I had questions about, how does running start work? What is that? What kinds of internships do the kids do? It's kind of a black box until you ask the questions, and our students are great at answering them, and our LTI team and the advisors. Everybody's more than happy to answer questions that you have. So I would say just speak up. There's no silly questions.
We did have one in the chat that Colette was so kind enough to answer, like what is the duration of an internship? I think we have it listed as few as 10 weeks, but up to a year. Most internships are a semester to a year long.
Mm-hmm.
So you might have maybe 2 or 3 different internships each year, or you might just have one internship the whole year. We want students to stay engaged the entire year, but they might have different experiences depending on what they're doing and where they're working at.
Yeah. If it's a really amazing internship and you're learning a lot, then it's okay if it goes longer than the initial 10 to 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the question, can we share the commute options if the location moves to Ringdale during school construction? Well, I don't have that answer yet. We're certainly working on it. We're just in phase 1 of the construction project, which is to select an architect. So we're anticipating at least a year and a half to be in the design and the permitting process before we move locations. Ringdahl right now is where the location is that will move in South Bellevue. So my work in the next few months, once we get through the architect selection, is to work on the transportation options and what that will look like, both for our students just to get to campus as well as the internship options, because as students leave on Thursday, some leave from their homes and drive or take metro to get to their internships. Others come to school here first and then depart from here. And we're really centrally located, which makes that really easy. So that is something we know we're absolutely going to have to problem solve so that doesn't become a barrier for students and families. But we were literally giving notice a week and a half ago that we're starting the architect process. So we're in phase 1, so stay tuned for more information. I know that's a pressing question. What kind of learning support do you offer for children who have learning differences such as dyslexia? So we provide the full continuum of special education support for students here, similar to other schools in our school district. So we have 4 special education teachers. They teach a variety of special education classes. Some of those focus specifically on reading or writing, some focus on math skills for students, some focus on executive functioning or social emotional. It really depends on the needs of the students and what would be crafted in an IEP if they needed that. Some students with dyslexia have accommodations in a 504 plan. They don't need as much specially designed instruction through an IEP. So we may provide them several accommodations or assistive technology. Our teachers have had many students in their classrooms that have had dyslexia. We have staff as well who have dyslexia, so it's a personal experience here. For some of us to support them, we would work closely with the former school team and with the parent team to make that transition as smoothly as possible, to put those supports in place for the student based on their level of need.
There's a question from Emily. What if the 9th grader doesn't know what they want to study or become as an adult? Number 1, no one expects that of you. Yeah, advisors, like our job is to help you find your interests. So I assume this is a question related to internships. Our job as advisors is to help you find those interests or find internships that are will give you skills or help you develop skills that you need at pretty much any profession or career that you move into later in life. So time management is an amazing skill that can be done in pretty much any internship. So yeah.
And if we're talking specifically about internships, is we will encourage you to explore different internships, because I've heard more than once from seniors who have graduated that they didn't know what they wanted to do when they came in in 9th grade, but they knew definitely what they didn't want to do when they graduated because they had an internship that they didn't like, and they knew that they didn't want to do that anymore. So it's a process of learning what you want to do, and then us supporting you in exploring that.
Yeah, and they'll take some career interest inventories and some personalities, other things to help them kind of narrow down. Maybe here's a cluster of careers I'm interested in, you know, but is it like this kind of engineering or that kind of engineering, or really maybe it's architecture, maybe it's art and design. Some are in a cluster, others are all over the place. Usually by 11th and 12th grade, they're getting much more focused with what they like and what they're good at and what they see as a future, but that unfolds differently for each student for sure. So you don't need to know now, and you will know more by the time you graduate, and you still may change once you graduate. Clinton, what is the High School Freedom Project mentioned in the slides? Is it the internship?
Yeah, Freedom Projects are the chances, I think I mentioned back, like in, we do them in May, where for multiple subject areas, the main focus of that area is students exploring their own interests. They develop their own project, they develop their own timeline, and like they are developing an opportunity to explore an interest. And it is not necessarily related to their internship. It could be an interest outside of their internship area. So I hope that makes sense.
students, anybody that's on here that want to add more about the Freedom Project?
Yeah, I can really quickly jump in here. I was gonna say it might have gotten a little confusing when we were kind of talking about all these big projects. There is projects related for your internship that you do to kind of show what you're learning from that internship. It could be like if you're doing an internship in film, you would maybe have a film as your final evidence for your project, or maybe you're building something engineering related. And then there's the Freedom Project, which happens at the end of the year, which is last 2 months of the school year, and it's a project of your choice. It can be pretty much anything as long as it like follows those guidelines that we kind of talked about earlier, and that is a big project similar to like the internship projects, but it is different and related to different classes than your internship class.
Thank you, Colette. Any other questions?
I saw someone was asking about the AP stuff. I also think it's worth noting the number of college and high school credits we offer. Which ones are those? I know physics is clearly because I teach that one, but what are the other ones, Bethany?
Yeah, physics, pre-calc, regular photography and video, production, and senior English. I think I got them all. So students will have a combination of AP, college and the high school, and many will do some running start courses, though certainly not all, and it's not any expectation that students do that. But that early slide that I showed of the amount of college credit students have, they're getting in a variety of ways prior to when they graduate.
And the difference between AP and college and high school is the college and high school courses have an actual college transcript attached to them. AP, you have to take a test and get a certain score on it to get to credit. Is that a fair assessment, Bethany?
Well, it is, and it's up to the university.
Right.
Some might want you to have a 5 in an AP Calc class to give you credit for an intro Calc course. They might give you 5 credits. Some colleges might give you 10 credits for that. Some say, well, we'll take as long as you pass the AP at a 3, we'll give you credit. So it's a little more confusing with AP as to how that translates into a certain number of college credit for students. The college and the high school, the running start credits are actual credits. Doesn't mean every university will actually accept them, but it is a little more known of here's the number of credits you're getting because it's upfront and not contingent on just a test. And Melinda goes through all of that with students several times throughout the registration process each year, so they have a better understanding, and during high school parent nights. Any other questions? We've got just a couple more slides to kind of close out tonight. I appreciate you guys sticking with us. Just again, want to make sure we get as much information out as possible since we have less access to people now with COVID. Make sure we answer everything and give you all the information that you need as you're thinking about high school. All right, so just to close out, there's a couple more videos on our website. One is of Nick at the Museum of Flight for his internship, which is a nice story of what that looks like. Another is Bella working at Fexi Media, doing a graphic design internship. So Tony had been the one who is the mastermind behind creating a lot of video footage over the years. So please check that out if you just want an inside look as to what an internship looks like. So as we close, our current 8th graders here, there's more time deliberately in the spring around this transition, both for the internship piece as well as just entering 9th grade. So you'll have an internship prep 8th grade project and advisory that you're working on. You're going to see Tony and a lot of high school students and high school advisors coming in and out of your advisory once we get back in January. We're going to continue to push and help develop our students as stronger, independent, and self-regulated learners. We know they're all working on that just as a return to school, let alone, thinking about that transition to high school. They'll be focused on more planning and prioritization and critical thinking skills. Our 8th grade advisors will meet with our high school advisors to determine which advisory and what support students might need. So we do a nice handoff in the spring between the 2 advisory teams of our current Big Picture kids. And we're going to continue to focus on building collaborative PBL skills so students are ready for the level of rigor of our high school projects. You know, as we close, our big picture high school students demonstrate independence and social responsibility, typical of teenagers, not necessarily at an adult level yet. They're willing to explore new ideas and to have self-control and self-direction, particularly when they're off campus at their internship sites. They are committed to making a positive impact on the school community, showing up on time, they're being professional in their work settings, making good decisions, ability to take feedback from others and use that to improve and refine in what they're doing. I'm working on communication skills, navigate the metro. Many are really savvy at getting around town and the entire east side or into Seattle using the metro, and a desire to learn. Students who thrive here are those that value a high degree of personalization, are committed to working with and learning from their peers, and possess that strong curiosity and willingness to explore new ideas in the world. It's a commitment to engaging in our internship program if you choose to come here for high school, continuing with our project-based learning approach, working collaboratively, completing those learning plans with your parents and advisors, engaging in the student-led conferences and the exhibitions, our advisory program, working toward proficiency through our standards-based grading and assessment approach, exploring college and careers, and you're going to loop with your advisors. If you get Clinton, you're lucky enough to get Clinton in the fall of 9th grade. He's your advisor for all 4 years of high school. So he'd work closely with you, whether he's your science teacher or just your advisor and your family for your entire duration. So there's a lasting partnership and commitment, which is why he's going to cry at Colette's senior defense, because he's been with her for 4 years. So this is really about developing those relationships with families, not just our students. So I thank you all for joining us tonight. We will wrap up. This is recorded and we're going to post it on our website, email it out to our current 8th grade families, but put the link up so everybody can access if you want to go back and refresh or revisit, because it's been a long evening and we've given a lot of information. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And I can direct them to different people accordingly if I don't happen to have the answer. If it's more specific about internships or clubs and activities or academic program. And Matt, I haven't been keeping up with the chat. Are there a couple questions I can answer before we close out?
The last two are specific to information about college placements from previous graduates. And a question on percentage of students passing AP tests.
I just see Clinton is the best from Colette. Is there a loop for middle school classes? Oh, you answered that one. On college placements. So the college placement information was shared at the beginning of our program. So there's a list of the colleges that students have been accepted to, as well as the current list of colleges that students chose to attend. So that's earlier in our presentation. They're against public, private, East Coast here in Washington, 2-year schools, 4-year universities. It's the whole gamut of kids since our first graduating class in 2015. So we haven't had that many graduating classes, but 2015 was our first class to leave us and head out into the world. It's also posted in our frequently asked question tag on our website, the list of all the colleges that students have been accepted to. Do you have any loose numbers about percentage of students that pass the AP test in different categories? I can pull the most recent data and email that to you, Liz. I don't have it memorized off the top of my head. Not all students will choose to take the AP test. It is optional if they choose to take it. And then the tests have changed, at least the last couple of years during COVID and the format of taking that. But we do have data on the various tests that I can send. If you send me an email as a reminder, I'll get that out to you in the next couple of days. Any other questions? Well, I appreciate all of you for joining us this evening and engaging and learning more about our wonderful school. Please reach out again if you have any questions. We are here to serve you and help you make your decision about high school selection. Thank you to all of our amazing students and the marketing team, to Clinton and to Tony and to Matt. I appreciate you guys co-piloting our presentation tonight. Be safe, everyone. 8th graders, see you tomorrow. High schoolers, see you tomorrow if you're on campus. If not, I'll see you on Friday. Appreciate you all so much. Thank you.
Good night.
Take care.